For spine-chilling tales of sinister swimming pools, unexplained terror revealed in every depth, in the heart of a quiet suburban neighborhood, the summer air felt thick, almost suffocating. The sun poured down on impeccable lawns and manicured hedges, but behind the perfect facades lurked whispers. In the silence that followed their arrival, a neighbor's pool, shimmering and inviting, beckoned eyes to the surface, yet deep down lay horrors waiting to emerge. Jenna, a single mother of two, did her best to ignore the unsettling gurgles and splashes that echoed from the newcomer's backyard. The couple next door had moved in just days ago, their beauty and wealth starkly contrasting the decay creeping through the community. Her children, Maddie and Luke, splashed in their plastic pool, any fears masked by innocent laughter. Yet, that laughter rang hollow under the disquieting spectacle of the pristine pool, which remained untouched, calm, yet impossibly deep. An unsettling evening descended. The air was stagnant, teasing Jenna as she carried a basket of laundry through the house. Suddenly, a haunting wail pierced the uncharacteristic silence. It rose and fell like the tide of unseen currents before blending into an eerie stillness that enveloped the night. Jenna paused, her heart shuddering in her chest. Surely, she must have imagined it. She shook her head, casting aside the creeping paranoia. But when morning dawned, reality slapped her awake, a nightmare made flesh. Maddie was gone. Frantically, Jenna rushed through their tiny home. Her frantic breaths echoed as she searched every corner, glancing toward the backyard, her gut twisting. And there it was, a chilling message carved into the wood of the deck: trust no one. Panic surged like icy tendrils wrapping around her heart. Her need to scream was strangled by fear as the cold chill crawled up her spine. Moments later, Stuart, the local police officer, strolled over with his laid-back grin, oblivious to the storm whirling within Jenna. Relax, he chuckled, assuring her Maddie was likely just hiding. She forced a smile, but doubts gnawed at her. Who were these new neighbors? A whisper of dread echoed through her thoughts, reminding her of the shadows lurking behind their neighbors' perfect lives. Determined, Jenna began peeling back the layers concealing the truth. She uncovered terrible stories of the pool's previous owner, a man who mysteriously drowned, his life swallowed by the depths. Chills raced through Jenna as each revelation clawed at her already fragile resolve. The whisper of those secrets seemed to cling to her like the oppressive summer heat. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each discovery tightened the noose of fear around her throat. The churning dread deepened as she wandered through whispers of her street, the once friendly faces now masked with talk of terror. Late at night, the quiet stretched, so tense it felt like an electric charge hanging in the air. She could feel eyes everywhere, judging, whispering, and waiting. As shadows grew longer with the setting sun, the oppressive silence morphed into an unbearable weight. Every creaking board and rustle echoed like a warning siren to her anxious mind. With each heartbeat, Jenna inside felt time slip away, every second now pulsing with the threat of despair. It would not be long before time ran out. Would she uncover the sinister force that loomed over her doorstep? Or would Maddie remain lost beneath the darkened surface of a pool whose depths concealed more than just water? The morning light slipped through the curtains, casting strange shadows across Jenna's living room. She blinked at the brightness, but it did nothing to dispel the dark thoughts swirling in her mind. Maddie's absence gnawed at her, each minute feeling like an eternity. Jenna's resolve hardened, she would not be passive any longer. Someone knew something. Grabbing her phone, she scrolled through the alarming feed of online forums detailing strange happenings in the neighborhood. People spoke of mysterious figures lurking beside pools under cover of darkness, whispers of an unseen force pulling kids into murky depths. Jenna's heart raced. Was it possible the legends were true? She forced herself out the door, the determination in her veins battling against the rising tide of fear. She approached the pristine pool next door, its surface gleaming under the sun, deceptively tranquil. Jenna's breaths were shallow as she stepped onto the patio. There were no signs of life, no laughter, nothing but the eerie silence that gripped the air. Guilt washed over her. Should she be doing this? But she noticed something strange, a small garden shed nestled behind the pool. Drawn to it, she crept closer, her pulse quickening. The shed was dark, its door slightly ajar, almost as if inviting her in. So close now, Jenna pushed the door open with trembling hands. Inside, the scent of mildew and rot assaulted her senses. Shelves were cluttered with gardening tools, but in the corner lay a rusted metal box. It was locked. Panic surged in her chest, and she glanced over her shoulder as if a watchful eye were on her. Should she break it open, tamper with something that didn't belong to her? But the need to know outweighed her hesitation. She rummaged through the nearby tools, gripping a heavy spade and striking the box. A loud crack echoed through the shed. The lock shattered, and Jenna's heart pounded as she pried it open. Inside, brittle papers and faded photographs spilled out, their edges curled and yellowed with age. Her hands shook as she sifted through them, revealing faces of the family who previously owned the pool. Their smiles were unsettling against the dark backdrop of the memories she had unearthed. Then she found a scrap of torn paper. The writing was messy, frantic. It watches when you swim. It takes what it wants. The words twisted in her gut like a vice. Reflections of Maddie's laughter bubbled up in her mind, contrasting sharply with the dire warnings written in the past. Each word ignited her anxiety, driving her closer to the edge of madness. Suddenly, a flicker of movement outside the shed caught her eye. Jenna froze, her breath hitching. The couple from next door stood in their yard, their expressions blank. They weren't just watching her, they were smiling. A smile that didn't reach their eyes. "Are you hungry?" The woman called out, her voice dripping with too much sweetness. We've prepared a lovely lunch. The invitation hung heavy in the air, sinister in its simplicity. Nameless dread clawed at Jenna's throat. Should she run? Was Maddie even safe anymore? As anxiety surged through her, a chilling realization struck her: she hadn't looked in the water. Could Maddie be there, beneath the perfect surface? Was the serene pool hiding unfathomable horrors? "Why don't you come over? Join us." The woman's voice trailed off, laughter bubbling in her throat. Jenna stared, horror blossoming in her chest. Time was slipping away. She had to decide: could she trust the smiles, or was it all part of some twisted game? The air thickened with tension as she stood at a crossroads, the echoes of that laughter taunting her. "What do you really want from us?" she shouted, fully aware that the answer might shatter her entire world. The couple exchanged knowing glances, and Jenna feared she'd just opened a door best left closed. The water rippled next door, and suddenly, she heard a child's voice call her name, faint and echoing, as if it was calling from the bottom of that dark pool. With dread twisting her insides, she had to know what lay below the surface. But would she be prepared for the truths that waited, lurking patiently in the depths? Jenna's pulse quickened as the child's voice echoed again, sweet yet haunting. Jenna's heart hammering, she strained to listen, scanning the pool water, its surface undisturbed, reflecting the overhanging branches like dark fingers threatening to pull her into the depths. Every instinct screamed for her to turn and flee, yet a strange pull rooted her in place. "Come play with us." The voice was softer now, almost melodic, weaving through the air like an irresistible siren-esque call. She hesitated. The couple lingered closer, their smiles never wavering, but their eyes seemed to bore into her soul. Had they heard the voice? Or did they know more than they let on? "You can't trust them," a whisper wound through her mind. It wasn't her own voice but a scream drowned in panic, warning her against the forces that lurked just beyond sight. Jenna, don't you want to join us? The woman now stood mere feet from the shed, her features shifting slightly in the harsh light, too eager, too bright, the shimmer of her teeth almost predatory. It's so much fun when you're not alone. The thought caused dread to crawl up Jenna's spine. She remembered the legends the tales people shared, dismissing them as mere folklore or the ramblings of paranoid parents. But the box in the shed contradicted her, revealing vignettes of inexplicable tragedies that seemed to have spun out from under their spurious surface. Why don't you come out? We want to bite. The man's voice was thick with mock concern, and Jenna saw a glimmer of something sharp flash across his face. It transformed him from mundane to monstrous in an instant. Something stirred within the water, a shift that caught her eye, a figure began to rise beneath the shimmering surface. Maddie? Jenna. The voice again, clearer now, rising in urgency. Help me. I'm stuck. Desperation filled Jenna. Maddie. She shouted, the word clawing its way up her throat. There was no time for hesitation. She couldn't stay here any longer, not with their unsettling smiles and those penetrating gazes. Don't. The woman shrieked, but the sound barely registered. Jenna burst from the shed, adrenaline flooding her limbs. She sprinted toward the pool, gasping for breath. Stay away from her, her mind warned as the couple's laughter rose around her like a dark cloud. It echoed familiar yet foreign, robbing her of comfort. When Jenna reached the edge, she peered into the pool, eyes wide in panic. The clarity of the water was surreal, concealing the chaos swirling just beneath. Coursing through her veins, a primal instinct urged her to dive in, to find what they had taken. She couldn't let Maddie drown. The moment she stepped closer, the water surged and a horrible chill intermingled with the warmth of the day. Come in. Maddie's voice again, more frantic, laced with fear. Jenna teetered at the edge, uncertainty coiling tight in her gut. What are you waiting for? The man's voice oozed like syrup, wrapping around her thoughts. She's just a swim away. A sudden chill encased her heart as shadows flickered beneath the water, twisting. She couldn't trust them, yet the desperation threaded through her suffocated her. Just as she took a step forward, she felt a cold hand grip her ankle. Jenna instinctively jerked back, her vision narrowing as panic twisted everything in dark colors. The water churned violently, and beneath it, forms began to take shape, grasping, pulling. Maddie! She screamed, but the sound split the air and was moments later swallowed by the laughter from next door, turning into a cacophony that shattered her thoughts. Time was against her. And then, just as she turned to run, she felt the fabric of her shirt tearing at the water's surface, dragging her back. Fear surged through her, echoing in her mind, was she too late? With frantic strength, Jenna ran, but each step felt like a tug-of-war between escaping and diving back into the abyss she feared. Swimming in her mind was the last vision of Maddie, frightened yet reaching. There was no turning back now. With the chilling immediate danger behind her and the shadows calling. To her soul, Jenna darted toward safety. What awaited her next, though? And did she truly escape, or was the pull of the pool already too strong? Jenna stumbled, breathless, making her way toward the trees that lined the edge of the property. The couple's laughter still echoed in her ears, twisting into something like a curse that chased after her in the fading light. Panic pressed against her chest like a vice, every ounce of logic slipping away, replaced by sheer terror. Maddie, she muttered under her breath, each syllable a hollow prayer. She needed to find her friend. There had to be a way to help her. The thought of leaving Maddie behind clawed at her insides. Shaking her head vehemently, she forced herself to focus. The mere thought of the water's depths, the shadows lurking within, sent shivers down her spine. It wasn't just a pool. It felt more like a portal something dark tried to suck in the light around it, dragging souls into the void. Was Maddie one of them? As Jenna neared the edge of the property, she glanced back, convinced the couple would be watching her. They were still there, standing in the same spot, arms crossed, smiles eternal yet somehow twisted. Their faces were shadows among the dying light, eyes filled with an unholy hunger. "Come back to us, Jenna. We promise it's fun." Their voices dripped with malice, weaving into her thoughts. Racing onward, Jenna's stomach tightened. Each footfall on the grass felt like a betrayal, a reminder of the danger she was leaving behind. What if the rumors, the hushed tales about the water, about children who went missing without a trace, what if they were real? Still, she couldn't abandon hope. The only light in the gathering darkness was Maddie's voice. "Help me." It echoed still, an echo that would play on repeat in her mind, driving her mad if she couldn't find her again. With renewed determination, Jenna turned back and rushed toward the shed. If there was anything left that could help her decipher what was happening, it might be in there. She flung open the door, the screams of old wood shrieking in protest. The stale air of secrets swirled around her, the musty scent clawing at her throat. Inside, she began rifling through the items crowded against the walls. Old lawn equipment, forgotten toys, and broken furniture lay steeped in layers of dust. But it was the corner that drew her, in a box with strange symbols and markings, brimming with something dark and star-like. Jenna hesitated. Should she open it? Every instinct told her to turn back. But then Maddie's voice sliced through the air again, faint but clear. "Jenna, don't leave me." The box creaked as she pried it open, and darkness spilled out. From the depths, an object gleamed, a small, tarnished locket. She reached for it, feeling a rush of energy surge through her hand. It felt warm, alive with something she couldn't name. With that touch, images flooded her mind. Flickers of laughter and light, of children playing by the pool, then anguish, fear, and cries for help. Each vision dragged her deeper into a swirling void, each one pulling her toward the depths of the pool. Then it struck her, the locket. This must be the connection to the lost children, to Maddie. "Jenna." The call came again, amplified by the locket. She couldn't let this chance slip away. Clutching the object tight against her chest, she darted out of the shed, racing toward the pool. As she reached it, shadows danced in the water, swirling as if in anticipation. "Help me!" Maddie cried again, terror lacing her voice. "Just hold on, I'm coming." Jenna screamed back, fear-tinged resolve hardening her spirit. But as she knelt at the water's edge, the world around her shifted. The colors darkened, the laughter of the couple crescendoed, morphing into a ghastly symphony. Time seemed to warp. "Join us, Jenna. We can play forever," the voices echoed, a seductive rhythm that grew stronger by the second. With a heart full of determination and dread, Jenna prepared to plunge into the depths, locket at the ready. But the pool bubbled ominously, and for an instant, she swore she saw Maddie's terrified face staring up, reaching toward her as if caught in an invisible web. Would the locket reveal the truth, or drag her down into darkness forever? In that moment of hesitation, Jenna realized the stakes were higher than she had imagined. The price of rescue might be her own life. And just like that, the water began to rise. The water surged, cold and dark, lapping hungrily at Jenna's feet as it crept higher. She felt her breath hitch in her throat. "Maddie!" She cried out again, desperation pounding in her chest. The locket pulsed, almost in response to the rising tide, like a heartbeat fighting against the drowning weight of the water. Reflections danced across the pool's surface, twisting her face into grotesque versions of itself. Each new ripple seemed to taunt her, breaking the surface of the water as if trying to drag her down with it. With a shuddering breath, Jenna leaned further over the edge, reaching, desperately willing Maddie to materialize before her, to break free from whatever held her captive. "Maddie! Please!" In that moment of anguish, Jenna's fingers grazed the slick surface of the water, and an icy grip wrapped around her wrist. The shock paralyzed her for just a heartbeat, just long enough for a dark figure to emerge from the depths. It was a child Maddie. No, it couldn't be. This wasn't the Maddie Jenna knew. She seemed altered, twisted by something sinister, eyes wide, empty, void of hope. Maddie? Jenna whispered, unable to reconcile the girl's figure with the vibrant spark of life she remembered. What have they done to you? Maddie's mouth opened, but no words came. Just silence, a shaking horror as her arms reached out, fingers clutching at the air, as if she were trapped in a nightmare. Jenna, help! The voice was barely a whisper, swallowed by the pool's eerie sounds. Just as Jenna felt herself teetering on the brink of despair, a wild thought crossed her mind. What if the locket held the key to saving her friend? Trembling, she clutched it tighter. Would it give her the power to break the hold the pool had on Maddie? Maddie! Look! The locket! She shouted, fervently raising it high. I think it can help you. Maddie's gaze flickered to the locket, and for a fleeting moment, a glimmer of recognition sparked in her eyes. Throw it to me. The voice grew urgent, pulling Jenna closer to the edge. But as she moved, something stirred beneath the surface, a sinister shift among the shadows that had been holding Maddie captive. Just then, the laughter of the couple erupted again, filling the air with a chaotic cacophony. Don't listen to her. Let her drown. Come play with us, Maddie. Their voices twisted around her, invading her mind with their dark promises. Maddie, no. You have to fight. Jenna screamed, terror constricting her throat as she felt the ground give way beneath her. The water swirled violently, absorbing the energies around it, calling to Jenna's very essence as she precariously leaned over its edge. Maddie, grab the locket. Yet as she tossed it into the water, the surface churned, and a pulse of blinding light erupted around it, distorting time and space. Jenna's heart raced, fear crashing over her like waves. This wasn't just about finding Maddie, this was about breaking the cycle. Would the locket work? It disappeared into darkness, and Jenna held her breath. Everything around her turned slow and dreamlike. The voices dimmed, replaced by an ominous silence that sent a cold chill racing down her spine. Then, beyond the edge of sanity, shadows began to rise. They coiled and twisted, taking shape, each figure a faded specter of a child. Faces of the lost, eyes hollow, whispered Jenna's name in a haunting chorus. Help us, panic gripped her. The locket was gone. Was Maddie lost to these vengeful spirits forever? Desperation clawed at her throat, but before Jenna could react, tendrils of blackness coiled around her ankle, tugging her toward the pool. Where are you, Maddie? Darkness enveloped Jenna, squeezing tighter as terror consumed her in that moment. Would rescue ever come? Or would she join the wretched souls below? And then came the shrill laughter, echoing even louder, a siren's call luring her deeper into despair. Just as she felt fingers slipping, a voice rang clear through the chaos, "Find me." It cried, and for an instant, hope glimmered in the abyss. But could she trust it? What lay ahead in the depths? A new challenge awaited, but this time, Jenna wouldn't yield to fear. She faced the darkness, even if it meant confronting the twisted pair who lingered at the edge. The shadows thickened, haunting whispers surrounding her like a fog, and with a defiant scream, Jenna prepared for whatever came next. Jenna's scream hung in the air, swallowed by the abyss as tendrils of darkness wrapped tighter around her ankles, pulling her toward the water. She felt the chilling grip seep into her skin, a cold that gnawed at her very essence. Panic surged through her heart, chaotic and wild, drowning out everything else. Maddie! She shouted again, but the word barely echoed above the sinister laughter that filled her ears. It was a cacophony of joy twisted by malice, mingling with the cries of despair that floated up around the pool like haunted whispers. Help us, they pleaded, voices fading into silence, leaving only their chilling presence behind. Above the waves, Jenna fought against the pull, her fingers clawing at the ground. She needed to break free. She needed to find Maddie. Summoning every ounce of strength, she twisted, pulling herself back from the edge of the water. Suddenly, that voice rang through the chaos again, slightly clearer, more insistent. "Find me. We're together." It echoed like a fragile lifeline. Was it Maddie? Or something darker? Jenna clung to it anyway, staring down into the inky depths. There. A flash of movement below the surface caught her eye. Shapes twisted and churned, faces that seemed to plead and mock in the same breath. Jenna's stomach churned. They hovered, caught between worlds like Maddie, she thought grimly. Terrified, she screamed again, "I'm coming. I'll find you." Mustering her courage, she steadied herself, eyes fixed on the swirling darkness. With nothing left to lose, she took a deep breath and plunged her hand into the water. The shock that followed was instantaneous and like ice piercing through her veins. Cold water enveloped her wrist, dragging her under, and the laughter crescendoed. As Jenna sunk deeper, the world warped around her. Time slowed, and the surface above dissolved into a shimmery ceiling of light, making it impossible to tell which way was up. The shadows swirled around her, murmuring in soft tones, a hypnotic lull that toyed with her mind. "Join us, Jenna, it's safe down here, it's fun." They beckoned, urging her further into the darkness. Jenna closed her eyes, focusing on Maddie's voice, the voice that promised hope amidst the chaos. In the distance, she caught a glimpse of something luminous, a flicker that pierced through the murky depths. Maddie. Jenna thought, propelling herself forward. She kicked and pushed against the weight of the water, desperation fueling her movements. The icy fingers loosened, but the voices grew louder, more threatening. "You'll stay with us forever, forever." A rush of determination surged through Jenna as she fought against their grasp. "No. I'm not yours. I will save her." With each stroke, Jenna drew closer to the light, an almost tangible hope pulling her forward. Shadows loomed, reaching out, but she broke through the surface of doubt, reaching out toward the flicker. Suddenly, she felt it, a soft touch, a familiar hand grasping hers from the depths. Maddie. Jenna yanked her upward with all the strength she could muster, and for a heartbeat, nothing else mattered. She felt Maddie's body moving closer, warmth mingling with the cold, and then darkness surged around them both, trying to reclaim what was lost. "Maddie. Hold on." Jenna screamed as she pulled harder, fighting against the tide that wanted to drag them back. The laughter turned to shrill screams of anger, reverberating through the water, but Jenna pressed on. "Find the locket." Maddie's voice surged through the murky chaos. "It's the key." The words hit Jenna like a lightning bolt. The locket. What had she done with it? Panic filled her chest again, and time seemed to stretch as Jenna struggled against the shadows, desperately searching through the depths, where hope seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. She could sense the darkness closing in, the tendrils reaching for them again, but now she had a target. A glint. There, where the light shimmered delicately against the black, Jenna pushed forward, fingers outstretched. Just a little more and then, the shadows engulfed her yet again, whispering their promises of forever. Would she find the locket? Would it matter? Or had she already lost both Maddie and herself to the darkness? A fresh wave of terror crashed over her, and Jenna gasped as she realized the depth of her mission. "Find it," Maddie urged, the urgency in her voice pulling Jenna back from despair. But all around her, unseen forces tightened their grip. Would she be able to save her friend before the horror consumed them both? The darkness loomed, hungry and relentless, and Jenna flailed against it, heart racing as she focused on that elusive spark of hope, her only chance at redemption. And then, she felt her fingers brush against something cold, a faint pulse echoing through the water. What if this was the answer? What awaited her dive beneath the surface? Jenna's heart raced, each thump a desperate reminder of what was at stake. The chill of the water wrapped around her like a shroud as she gripped the object that felt impossibly cool beneath her fingertips. What is this? She lifted it closer to her face, trying to catch a glimpse in the endless dark, but the shadows were alive, twisting and curling around her arms like serpents, squeezing tighter with every passing second. "Maddie!" she yelled, her voice cracking, but there was no reply. Only the distant echoes of laughter reverted back to the whispers that clawed at her mind, a chant that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "Join us forever, no." The locket. She dug deeper, forcing her hand to grip the cold pendant tighter. It was all that mattered. A burst of adrenaline surged through her, she became acutely aware of the tingling sensation traveling from her fingertips to her core. If this was the key, she couldn't give in. She fought through the darkness, the locket pulling her back toward that glimmer of light she thought she had lost. But a shadow shot past her, darting through the depths with an alarming speed that made Jenna freeze. There it was again, a figure. Its features twisted and distorted, a sickening reminder of the faces she had seen earlier, pleading yet mocking. Where was Maddie? Jenna's thoughts spiraled as panic clawed at the edges of her mind. She had to find her friend. This was the moment she feared most, caught between hope and sheer terror. With every ounce of strength, she pulled the locket closer and braced herself against the relentless grip of the darkness, summoning the last reserves of courage buried deep within her. "I will save us!" she screamed, squeezing her eyes shut against the encroaching shadows that threatened to swallow her whole. As if her defiance triggered something, the waters around her suddenly surged, a violent wave crushing down on her chest. Jenna gasped, her mouth opening for air that only drowned her deeper within despair. Then came the thunderous waves of laughter, resonating through the icy water, drowning out her resolve. "You've come to join the play," they crooned, a chilling lullaby that twisted around her thoughts and seeped into her bones. But no. She gritted her teeth, remembering Maddie's voice, the urgency throbbing in her ears, pulling her back toward her trust. Suddenly, the pendant flared between her fingers, a blinding light cutting through the darkness. A warmth enveloped her, and she found herself pushed upward, the shadows recoiling in horror. "Jenna! Find your way!" Maddie's voice pierced through the chaos, louder now, vibrant with life. It gave Jenna direction. She could see the surface. Glimmers of silver danced, promising escape. Ignoring the growing voices, Jenna kicked harder, propelled by the faint glow of the locket. She could feel the water changing around her, the darkness ebbing away as though retreating from the light. With one final push, Jenna surged upward, bursting through the surface with a gasp, the fresh air pouring into her lungs like sweet salvation. She tumbled onto the shore of the pool, coughing and gasping, savoring each inhale. Yet, as she lay there reeling from the ordeal, Jenna realized with horror that Maddie still wasn't beside her. "Maddie!" she cried, panic rising as she scanned the shimmering contours of the pool, but there was no answer. Not even a whisper. Just the relentless laughter that echoed beneath the surface, carrying with it the weight of 1,000 lost souls. "Where are you?" she shouted, scrambling to her feet, heart racing once more. Then, from just beyond the rippling edge, a shadow shifted, something rising slowly and deliberately from the depths, an outline, jagged and haunting, its form forcing Jenna to take a step back. Chilled to the bone, Jenna's breath caught in her throat. Emerging from the pool was not just water, it was something darker, a figure shrouded in the essence of every terror she had faced. "Maddie!" she cried again, longing for her friend as dread settled like ice in her gut. But as the figure surfaced, she realized the horrifying truth. What emerged from the abyss was neither Maddie nor anything she recognized. It was something else entirely, a lost whisper of an ancient, ravenous hole. And as Jenna stumbled back, the darkness surged again, pulling her toward what was unmistakably a new horror. What had she awakened? Would she ever find Maddie? Or was she destined to become another lost soul trapped in the eternal depths? Jenna fell back, her heart hammering in her chest, eyes locked on the figure that now emerged from the water. It was a grotesque echo of humanity, twisted and pale, dripping with water, and something darker shadows seemed to writhe around it, acting like tendrils of despair. It was looking at her, no, through her. Maddie?" she whispered, a pitiful plea belied by the terror bubbling up inside her. The figure seemed to sense her desperation. Its lips curled into an unnatural grin, revealing teeth that were more predator than human. A sound escaped its throat, a low, gurgling rasp that filled the air with a primal malice. It edged closer, and Jenna caught the stench of decay like wet earth mixed with something far more sinister. "Join us," it hissed, the words dripping with an intoxicating allure that sent a shiver down her spine. "We've been waiting." Jenna stumbled backward, knee-deep in primal fear. There was no escaping it now. She turned and ran, legs heavy with dread, but her mind screamed at her to fight. "Maddie!" she called again, voice cracking as she struggled to keep the panic at bay. The laughter from the pool morphed into a chorus, echoing in the air, mocking her frantic search. It blended with whispers, surreal and haunting, pulling at her sanity. "Leave!" She's ours. The words melted into each other, a sickening melody that drove a wedge into her gut. Jenna still felt the locket's warmth, pressed firmly in her hand. Could it hold the key to this nightmare? She grasped it tighter, almost pleading with it to shine brighter, to lead her to Maddie. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath her feet, and beneath the water, the figure collapsed back into the depths, just as another shadow rose. This one was larger, bulkier, with grotesque ripples radiating outward, thrashing through the surface violently. Jenna froze, caught like a rabbit in headlights, fear riveted to the ground. What sought her now? She watched the water churn, twisting as if it had a will of its own. Whatever was in there wanted out. Jenna turned and darted for the trees lining the edge of the pool. Branches scratched at her, obstacles that clawed and snagged her clothes, but she pushed past them, urgency flooding her with energy. "Jenna!" A voice rang out, familiar but fractured. "Maddie!" Hope surged in her chest. "Maddie! Where are you?" she cried, desperately seeking any hint of her friend. The chill of night began to envelop her, seeping into her bones. "Maddie!" Jenna shoved past branches, emerging into a small clearing. The darkness loomed close. She could hear whispers now, gathering around her like a noxious fog. The laughter had morphed into soft, cruel coos. They knew something she didn't. "Come play, Jenna," they sang, enticing yet laced with menace. A flicker of light caught Jenna's attention just beyond the clearing. It was brief, almost mocking in its elusiveness. She sprinted to it, but as she neared, the glimmer dimmed before her eyes, revealing nothing but more shadow. "Please, not you too!" she shouted, the words tearing from her throat as despair gripped her once again. What if Maddie was gone? What if she never returned? A low moan echoed through the trees, chilling her blood. The darkness thickened, almost tangible, pulling her closer to it. In that swirl of uncertainty, a figure stepped from the blackness, a silhouette that felt all too familiar. "Maddie?" she breathed. But as the shadows parted, Jenna gasped. The figure was no longer her friend. It was something unrecognizable, eyes gleaming with the joy of the hunt, a predator seeking its prey. "Oh no!" Jenna backed away, panic seizing her heart. The last remnants of her hope flared up in her chest one last time. She clutched the locket, the cautious spark of light inside glowing faintly but definitively, a heartbeat of its own in a chilling, relentless dark. "Stay back!" she yelled, pulling it close, yet trembling, bracing herself for the onslaught. Could it repel the darkness, or was she only feeding the terror by holding on? Then, as if answering her unspoken fear, the forest trembled again, and the laughter crescendoed once more, a symphony of terror welcoming her, ushering her into whatever darkness she now stood upon the brink of. "Fight!" echoed a whisper in her ear, so close it made her shudder. Was it Maddie? Or something worse? What lingered ahead in the shadows? Would she ever find her friend, or had she stepped into a fate far darker than she could fathom? The whispers turned into a cacophony, wrapping around Jenna like a suffocating blanket. She felt the air stiffen, thick with foreboding as darkness pressed against her skin, chilling her to the bone. Heart pounding, she forced herself to move, legs pumping despite the heavy weight of dread. The shadows writhed and shifted, eager to engulf her whole. Jenna, that voice again, sweet but cruel, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. Was it Maddie? Or was it the creature clothed in the guise of her friend, designed to lure her deeper into the abyss? Then there it was, a glimpse of movement behind a cluster of trees. A fleeting silhouette. Jenna's heart leaped with desperation, mingling with paralyzing fear. Maddie! She shouted, voice hoarse from panic. She pushed through the wall of trees, her body working on instinct alone. The branches clawed at her like skeletal fingers, threatening to drag her back into the shadows. But she couldn't stop. She had to find Maddie. Breaking into the next clearing, Jenna found herself standing before the long-forgotten ruins of what once might have been a swimming pool. The cracked tiles glistened under the moonlight, but there was something wrong. Water pooled at the bottom, black and sullen, barely reflecting the starlit sky, a perfect mirror to the horrors that lay beneath. Maddie! Her voice trembled, mingling with the low gurgle of water bubbling from the dark depths. Then, a soft whimper floated from the pool, as if Maddie was there, submerged, held captive by the sinister presence lurking beneath the surface. Jenna stepped closer, dread wrapping itself tighter around her chest. And then she saw it, a hand, pale and lifeless, rising slowly from the black water. No, panic surged through Jenna, blinding her senses. She stumbled back, bumping against the cold stone of the pool's wall, the realization slamming into her gut like a fist. It was not Maddie's. The laughter, no longer distant, was now in her ear, swirling like smoke around her thoughts. She's gone, the voices sang, dripping with satisfaction. You're too late. Jenna fought against the despair creeping in, her hand still clutching the locket. It pulsed a feeble light, flickering like the last spark of hope. Fight! She urged herself, moisture lining her palms as she steadied her grip. Darkness surged forward, the gurgling laughter now turning into enraged shouts. Unseen forces pressed in on her, fingers of shadow threatening to drag her down, to join the horrors beneath the surface. The breath caught in her throat, desperation clawing its way up. But something snapped inside her, a flicker of courage. With a scream of defiance, she thrust the locket toward the pool. The light flared, illuminating the darkness. Shadows shrieked, recoiling from the brightness, their twisted forms writhing and contorting in agony. Leave me alone! Jenna shouted, her voice echoing defiantly into the night. Light pulsated around her, illuminating the path from which she had come, the darkness shrinking back, flailing like a wounded beast. Then, against the backdrop of chaos, she caught a glimmer of movement just behind the pool, a figure breaking free from the constricting shadows. Heart racing, Jenna squinted, searching for a face she recognized, a sign of hope amidst the terror. Maddie? She croaked, breathless with anticipation. But as the figure stepped into view, a new horror coursed through her. The shape was bent, its features twisted into a cruel visage, illuminated by the locket's glow. It wasn't Maddie anymore. Now, it was something else entirely, a manifestation of nightmares come to life. I've been waiting for you, Jenna. It rasped, a sickening grin stretching across its face. Join us forever. Jenna staggered backward, recognizing the darkness closing in again, the laughter creeping back, wrapping around her like a noose. Will she find the light that brings her friend back, or is she destined to remain forever tangled in this web of nightmares? The question loomed, pressing heavily on her heart as she stood at the edge of a dark abyss. What would she sacrifice to save her friend? Jenna stood frozen, struggling against the crushing despair that clawed at her insides. The figure before her twisted and flickered under the dim light of the locket, a cruel imitation of the friend she loved. Its eyes glinted with a malevolent hunger, and it smiled wider, revealing teeth that looked like shattered glass. I can give you what you desire, it hissed, weaving closer as if a dark spell was cast between them. Join us, Jenna. Together, we can be free. The siren's call wrapped around her heart like a vice, making her head spin. But in that same moment, another voice broke through the haze. Faint, but clear. Mom. Help me. It was Maddie. A jolt of urgency ignited within Jenna, cutting through the spell of darkness that threatened to consume her. Maddie. Jenna cried, her voice soaring with desperation. She gripped the locket tightly, the warmth pulsing in her hand. This was the light, the promise of hope amidst the darkness. No. The figure roared, attempting to shield itself from the glow, shadows flaring around it like angry snakes. The last whispers of the darkness screeched in defiance, but Jenna could feel the power of her love pushing forward, breaking the weight of despair. Maddie, I'm coming for you. Jenna shouted, determination rushing through her veins. She would not let the darkness win. She would not let it take her daughter's light. With one mighty leap, Jenna flung the locket toward the pool. The moment it hit the dark surface, a radiant burst erupted, shimmering like 1,000 suns igniting the shadowy tendrils. Silence fell momentarily, and the shimmering water stilled as the brilliance spread out, pushing away the sinister echoes that had tormented her. Across the pool, in the cascade of light, shapes began to materialize beneath the water. Flickers of familiar laughter emerged, ghostly forms of other lost children freed from the grip of the shadows. Each face glowed with hope, their hands reaching toward Jenna as if guiding her toward Maddie. Mom, help me. Maddie's voice surged once more, pulling Jenna through the fractured pool. Maddie, I'm right here. Jenna dashed forward, falling to the edge and gazing into the depths where hope shone bright. Shadows twisted and clawed at the edges, but the locket's light pushed them back, unveiling a sight that made Jenna's heart swell with yearning. There. Maddie glimmered like a star, trapped yet fighting against the darkness that held her. Please, Mom. She cried, her eyes wide with fear and longing. Jenna's heart shattered and pieced itself together with renewed strength. She reached down into the depths, ignoring the icy grip attempting to pull her in. I'm here. I'll get you out. Her fingers slid through the murky water, grasping for her daughter. Just then, the monstrous figure lunged, trying to intercept her. Shadows escaped from it, swirling and screaming, but the overwhelming glow of the locket flared brighter, bathing everything around in warmth. Stay back. Jenna shouted, fighting against the pull of the dark force. With sheer determination, she plunged deeper, ignoring the icy grip that burned against her skin. Let her go. Maddie cried out, and Jenna could see her fighting against the shadows that twisted around her arms. She reached further, every ounce of her being focused on that connection. Just a little longer, Maddie. I'm coming. With one swift movement, she grasped Maddie's hand. The moment their fingers locked sent a jolt of warmth through her, a shock that lit the shadows ablaze. Maddie. She gasped, pulling her up with all her might. Light enveloped them both, radiating outward and swallowing the darkness hiding above. For a brief moment, the world turned golden, illuminating every hidden crevice of sorrow. Together, they surged from the dark depths, crashing through the surface as golden light engulfed them. Jenna gasped for air, cradling Maddie close against her chest. Water streamed off them, a bright veil of safety, as the darkness hissed in farewell, receding back into the corners where it belonged. Mom! Maddie cried, tears gleaming in her eyes as they hugged tightly. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, they were safe. But their victory was not without a grim reminder. The shadowy figures that once haunted their backyard were gone, but the tales would remain. Whispers of the pool would carry on in the neighborhood, tales of children lost and fights against darkness. Jenna looked down at Maddie, holding her tightly as the sun began to rise. We made it, she whispered, a weight lifted from her chest. Together, they had conquered the darkness, honoring the lost with their return. As they stood there, rising triumphant against the morning light, Jenna felt a sense of closure wash over her. They had escaped the depths, but the scars would remain. She would forever remember the fragile line between light and darkness. With a deep breath, Jenna carried Maddie away from the pool, vowing to protect her light, cherishing every moment they would share under the sun. And beneath the surface, the laughter faded into whispers, a chilling echo that reminded all those who ventured near that some mysteries will always remain untamed. Now, as you join Jenna and Maddie on their journey of triumph, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these spine-tingling tales alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this ending. You know you want to share what you felt. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference for our community of true fans. Let us keep the light shining.